name is Christian Grigroskos, and we're here at Collard City Growers in north central Troy, New York. This is a perennial food forest, let's call it, where we have hundreds and hundreds of all kinds of plants, shrubs, and trees growing. Anything that'll grow in the Northeast, basically. This is my partner, Azrae Keahi. She's a lot of the brains behind all of this. And then I've got my son Vasos on my back, and our other son Ember is hanging out with Virginia over there, and Ellie's over there. They're weeding the strawberry patch right now. But yeah, this is just one lot. There was previously vacant lot, so everything you see behind me used to just be a grass lawn about 6 years ago, and we've been slowly chipping away and transforming it, plugging in all manner of useful plants. So let me show you around, see what we've got. They're weeding the strawberry patch that was productive for a few years, but then it got overrun by other plants that also do really well growing. So we're trying to bring them back. You can see a mulberry tree that grew itself there, which will probably not keep because that'll turn into a full-size tree. We got strawberries. We'd like to plant a lot of comfrey too. Azrae, you want to point to the comfrey?
There's a big one right here.
The comfrey is just really good at accumulating minerals, and then it becomes a natural mulch, so we can chop it a couple times during the year to mulch other plants with, and it acts as a fertilizer, and it really does a good job at holding its ground. Over here we have some annuals that we've planted, because we do like annual vegetables, even though they do take a little more effort. We've got some tomatillos coming on here that we can make salsa with. Got eggplants coming along. But we've also interspersed, like earlier this spring, this is American cranberry. That's going to turn into a big fruiting shrub. More American cranberry. Bigger pepper right next to an eggplant. So a lot of things you'll see are kind of unconventional in that we pack it in and see how things do. Our dill self-seeds, has no problem growing, so dill we never plant, we just let it plant itself. Here you can see another mulberry tree got planted, probably by the birds that hang out in here. What else? Some more kale, which I can't even remember if we planted it or if it planted itself. We've let a lot of kale go to seed. Any of it that survives the winter, we let it come back and drop seed the next year, so we end up with kale plants everywhere. This is a blueberry that we planted in the spring, so that'll get bigger. A grape, wild grape that planted itself. This is one of our favorites. I wish you had smell-o-vision, because this is anise hyssop, or I call it licorice plant. It's one of the ones I always give to kids to smell, because it smells just like licorice, and if you add enough of it to a tea, it sweetens things just with the leaves, so you wouldn't need sugar at all. And you'll see it everywhere in this garden. It likes to set seed and come up by its roots. It puts up more babies. Here's another American cranberry. A lot of this is just as an experiment to show people what plants do sort of in a wild environment. And here, if you haven't noticed yet, this is just one of our peach trees that's loaded this year. So we'll be picking these pretty hard. This one seems just about ready. The other one is a little yellower, so that'll be another week or so. So over here, we've got an apple tree, another apple tree, and they're sort of going to form an overstory. But we have back here along the fence, we've planted a bunch of interesting stuff. We've got this thornless variety of blackberry. Thornless just makes it easier for people to appreciate, because nobody really likes plants with thorns, especially when they give you juicy berries. Behind it on the fence we've got a grape variety, but I couldn't tell you the variety what it is, but I'm sure it'll be delicious. And here we've got a grape. Did I get you, Wesley? The elderberry getting real big over here. It's a real good medicine plant. And then in their sort of natural habitat, we got, some gooseberries. Gooseberries and currants, members of the ribes family, are really easy to propagate, and their natural habitat is under trees in the forest. They won't produce as much as if you had them in the sun, but we do nothing to any of these plants except for plant them and weed them when they're young, and then they can establish themselves. And then we really just harvest the rest of the time. We have some, every spring we do a lot of, or late winter, we do a lot of grafting onto fruit trees that we have or rootstock that we acquire, and that's a way to make new trees. So here we have nursing along some, I think this is a pear that we grafted that took, and then this is probably just rootstock of apples, so we can make more rootstock plants out of that. And the idea is to create a forest system, because if you know about ecology, these are systems that function. They're extremely complex, and they have a lot of elements that are all interacting and doing things. So when you're driving through the country and you see these barren fields that have just been plowed or just been planted to one type of crop, that is the opposite. That is unnatural. So what we're trying to mimic is a forest system that has many layers from the roots all the way up to the canopy trees, and we can harvest throughout the growing season, and we can preserve a bunch of stuff to eat during winter, and the animals have all kinds of food to eat, because it's not just about feeding the humans, it's about biodiversity and bugs. So in a second we're going to pass the tomatillos, which are a great little, like, more of a fruit than a vegetable. They get really tangy. They have this interesting paper covering on them. You can see that's a really young one. This one is almost ready as it busts out of its paper and turns purple. And when you chop them up, put them in salsa, they're really refreshing. So on a hot day, especially now towards the end of August, they're great, almost citrusy flavor, but they grow really easy, especially this time of year. They take off. But come on over here. I'm going to show you this cool vine and tree situation that we've got going on. How are you doing, Mr. Lee? A lot of this I've learned only from this place. I did not go to school for any of this. This is my laboratory and classroom that teaches me everything. When things come up that I don't know what they are, I figure out what they are. So here we got daylilies, which we like planting all over because they hold their own by the roots, and they are actually a delicious edible flower. In case you didn't know, tansy is a real nice medicine plant with tea. These are peonies that we dug up from SUNY Albany, I don't know, 4 years ago, that do really well and give us beautiful flowers. I call it Russian sage. This stuff has no trouble growing with utter neglect. Really fragrant, and the bees love it. And this is the idea. If we keep introducing elements at the correct time and take care of them when they need to be, we'll just have fruit really poking out of every little corner. You see that's another peach tree ready to get picked. You got Lambsquarters, which is a delicious wild green. Tastes like spinach. You're gonna eat it one day, don't worry. So this is an interesting observation. All of our fence posts, when we put the fence in, these are black locust trees. Black locust is considered an invasive, but it's a nitrogen fixer, and it's got some of the most rot-resistant wood out of any tree species out there. So that's what we used as our fence posts, because they'll stay in the ground for, hopefully 50 years without rotting. This one fence post went in, and it was green enough, it had enough life left in it that it sprouted. And this was 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's turning into a tree. So we've got our eye on it, because from it being just a stick in the ground, it might be a little weaker where it sprouted out as it gets bigger. But because it's a nitrogen fixer, which means it takes nitrogen out of the air and puts it into the soil, it helps feed all the other plants around it. We've noticed that the peach tree does really good right next to it. And we put these hardy kiwi vines to grow up it. So we have a few varieties of hardy kiwi that are growing up it and up this trellis. And the hardy kiwi is just a little grape-sized kiwi that's really nutritious, packed with vitamin C, and has no trouble growing. I might have said that already a few times, but we love plants that know how to grow themselves and don't need that much.
Tomatillo?
If you find any tomatillos that are ready, you can eat it. You want to say hi to the camera? Tell them, what's your favorite fruit?
I like blackberries.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe we should go pick some in a little bit.
The show you are watching has been produced by SACC.TV. SAC TV is a not-for-profit organization that provides educational programming, seeking to enrich communities by producing shows on culture, science, health, the arts, and more. SAC TV is member-driven, which means that we rely on donations, grants, underwriting, and volunteers to deliver quality content. SAC.TV has been in operation continually since 1974 and currently operates a full-time studio in Rotterdam, New York. In recent years, SAC.TV has produced over 500 community-driven programs that are all available to view free to the public on www.sac.tv, on demand 24 hours a day. SAC.tv also airs shows on local television, channels such as WNYT, My4 Albany, with programs like Do You Know the Muffin Man, Caught in the Crossfire, Scene TV, Tune In to Wellness Today, and The Janice Thompson Show. Check your local programming schedule or www.sac.tv for times and dates. In SAC.tv's mission to connect and inform communities and individuals, every week we're producing new shows. To be able to provide this service, we are in need of your help. There's a lot of ways you can help SAC.tv and in turn help your community. Visit www.sac.tv. There you can click on Donate and select the contribution level of your choice. You can also help SAC.tv by sponsoring an ongoing program, volunteering behind the scenes, or even producing your own show. And as always, if you enjoy what you've seen, visit us on YouTube and Facebook. Subscribe, like, share, and pass the word around. For more information and to see the latest shows, visit www.sac.tv or contact us as director@sac.tv or by phone at 518-831-9145. For now, back to our program, and stay tuned for more great shows.
Guess how you do it? Tell them what you're picking.
And it's his house.
How does it taste?
Pretty good.
And here is Ellie Irons, who's a wild plant master. And she's working with Azrae weeding the strawberries out.
It's true, yeah. We're just trying to kind of recover this space from some of my favorite friends, actually. I work a lot with wild urban plants, and there's this huge biodiversity in this space, which is part of what I love about it. And even though some of these are volunteers that came on their own without being planted, a lot of them are edible. So I'm actually taking this home with me. This is Galansoga and Dandelion Green. So
You're eating the Galansoga.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna stir fry it up with some eggs. I learned that at the farmer's market. Someone was selling it actually, and I asked him how he usually makes it, and that's what he said. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy, so cooking it is good, but it's totally edible and there's lots of nutrients in it. So, we're actually short of greens at home right now, so works out. Yeah, so I know Christian just gave you a tour of the kind of amazing range of plants that we've got growing here, from perennials to herbs to different vegetables. Basically, the mission of College City Growers is to look at urban ecology and urban agriculture a little bit differently, and this is a permaculture-based space, so we're really interested in how a kind of less top-down management strategy for letting urban biodiversity flower can work to our advantage, so we can green more spaces more productively with less effort, because we're all volunteer run here, and so we need to get as much done as we can in terms of producing food without putting a ton of time in. So this is kind of on a food forest model, meaning that when the peaches come ripe, the peaches are available for collecting whenever the garden's open to anyone who happens by. And often when we collect or harvest food, we'll make it into something for a community meal, something at the Sanctuary for Independent Media, which is our parent organization right down the street. If they're having a concert, there will be peach preserves available that are made locally. So we're really interested in kind of demonstrating that traditional farm to table can happen in an urban space and in a space that's been perhaps overlooked historically in terms of access to fresh food. North Central Troy actually has what some would describe as a food apartheid situation going on, because there really are no big grocery stores right here in the kind of walkable circumference. So if you want access to fresh food, you have to either take a bus downtown or find someone to drive you if you don't have your own vehicle. We even have like our local Stewart's down the street is shutting down. So there's a question of where people are gonna be able to get access to fresh food. So a space like this can demonstrate one way to kind of, in these spaces between houses and businesses that are considered vacant, to fill them up with kind of liveliness that you see here. A lot of it stuff that we can eat. I come to College City Growers. It's a huge variety of tasks usually that are possible to get engaged in. Certainly weeding is just kind of a constant balance in terms of making space for the plants we do want while still enjoying the bounty of all the wild plants. I also get involved in the composting project here, which is really great. Sometimes I bring compost or green waste from home so it can be turned into soil. I'm also part of the Media Sanctuary's Nature Lab team, which is a kind of organization that's bringing together community science and environmental justice with art. I'm an artist, so it's a really great way to combine my love of plants and urban ecology with my art practice. Yeah, so we're standing in the midst of so many great plants that it's really hard for me to, come up with a favorite. But because I'm weeding right now, I'm gonna introduce you to this Lambsquarters. It is a weed. We're pulling it out because we're standing in the strawberry patch. If you're trying to figure out what Lambsquarters is, trying to ID it like out on the street, it's got this kind of striped stem that almost looks kind of like watermelon colors towards the end of the season. And then you'll notice that its new leaves are a little bit powdery, almost look like they've been dusted in flour or something. So the scientific name for this is Chenopodium album, but one of its casual names is wild spinach. It's totally edible. And you can cook it up just like you would spinach, right? You could put it in a salad, but you can also saute it. I had a dinner with a friend the other night that was amazing, where she sauteed this with a bunch of Indian spices. It was delicious. So since I'm weeding, instead of throwing this into the compost pile, which we would do otherwise, I think I'll just take it home tonight and cook it. It is what's considered a wild crop cousin, meaning that it's related distantly, actually somewhat closely, to a lot of the, some of the species that we farm formally. So Chenopodium is kind of like quinoa, so this is related to that, and it's really great to have these wild crop cousins thriving in our city centers, because as we feel the pinch from climate change, we're going to need the kind of attributes these plants have that allow them to adapt to really challenging environments. So even though it's weedy and maybe annoying sometimes, it's also got that genetic diversity that allows it to survive in a drought, to last longer into the winter, things like that like our domesticated spinach can't do. So, yay Lambsquarters. From my perspective, eating a mostly plant-based diet that comes from lots of different sources is probably a good idea. Eating stuff that's not super processed, doesn't have a lot of artificial ingredients in it, and this is the stuff that's hard to find affordably if you're in a neighborhood like North Central Troy, because you walk into any corner store, which is easy to get to, and the food's cheap, and you're gonna find stuff that's loaded with fat and sugar and salt and additives, and there's nothing wrong with that. Occasionally, I mean, I love myself a good bag of potato chips, but in terms of what the body needs on a long-term basis for being able to kind of live, I guess, not even a healthy life, just what your body needs to build itself up and keep going, the kinds of fiber and antioxidants and vitamins and all that good stuff that's in something like Lambsquarters is hard to come by in processed food. So, yeah, and now I think it would be really great for you to chat with Azare a little bit about what she's doing here.
Hi, my name is Azare. We're here at Collard Tea Growers, as you probably know. It can be a pretty confusing place to be for a lot of people. I just poked my son in the head. We try to keep this space wild and sort of to encourage people to explore and pay attention to what's going on in a way for us to learn more about the living systems that surround us. I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I was essentially, the jungle was my playground. And when I moved to Troy, I realized that there weren't a lot of these wild spaces available for people to explore, and that was very confusing for me. So I started helping out here about 5 years ago. I did not start the project. Someone named Abby Lublin did. And she started it just as a way for her to do things with youth in the neighborhood, because she's busy, as we are doing right now. These are my children, and they're here with me whenever I'm here. So yeah, we do cultivate normal annual vegetables. But also we're cultivating a space that is forageable, and some people will call it, permaculture. I often just like to refer to it as just like the way that nature does things. All sorts of plants living amongst one another. A lot of diversity to keep not just humans fed, but also pollinators and other creatures and critters that are roaming around in here. So you can see there's, different islands of productivity. There's mint in here, bee balm, wormwood. A lot of these plants that are wild are medicinals. This crazy area that's difficult to understand right now is actually a propagation bed. So every fall/winter, or when plants are dormant, we propagate from cuttings. So we've got elderberry in here, which some people might know as a really powerful medicinal plant. You can make your own cough syrup with the berries. We have grapes in here as well, which are, you can see if you see along the fence, that's all grapevine there that we planted. So we get tons of grapes, and we can just take sticks from those plants and make more, which is a really fascinating and satisfying process that I love sharing with people, because it really is as simple as putting a stick in the ground. And I think, the work that I try to do here is really just about that, is like showing people how you can do a lot with very little. I think that's like the overall wisdom that I try to share, like not overcomplicate it. So I try to avoid using terms like permaculture and urban ecology. I'm really interested in trying to make this space as accessible as possible to anyone that's walking by. So like I said in the beginning, it's really just like me bringing my own personal story to the space and trying to share that in the way that I interact with these living systems that are already here and available.
You should feel free to go on the internet. The best way to find us is on the Instagram currently at Collard City Growers. Don't forget the D in Collard.
Well, welcome back! I'm still trying to bake the muffins. But finally, I think we're finished. I hope you enjoyed our show today. If you would like to make an order or donate muffins to charity, then please go to the website listed below. With every muffin order, we donate muffins to the charity of your choice. I call it giving your dough to charity. I also encourage you to donate directly to the featured charity today by going directly to our website and getting their information. Thank you very much for watching, and keep on dancing through life by giving to others through love. Let me finish baking these muffins, and see you next time!